Good morning, students. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today, this is the second session of this chapter, Improvement in Food Resources. In the previous session, we have discussed the important aspects of this chapter, like the concept of crops, the concept of food resource in India, why food resource is essential, and what is the need for food resource. And there are three major activities that were discussed, like crop variety improvement, crop production management, and crop protection management. And among these three activities, only crop variety improvement was elaborately discussed, and today the remaining two, that is crop production management and crop protection management, we will discuss these two process. So first of all, let's discuss the second activity, that is crop production management. Crop production management. Now we need to produce crop. We need to produce crop because India is very populated country. So to meet its demands, we need to produce crop in a large scale. Now crop produced, we have to manage those crops so that all of the people get equal crops, or all of the crops be available to us. So crop production management is very important. Now what is this crop production management? It involves the control of various aspects of crop production. It involves the various aspect of crop production for the best yield. That means to produce the best variety of crops. It controls the various aspects of this crop production. So crop production management, it involves the control of various aspects of crop production for the best yield. Crop production management, it involves the control of various aspects of crop production for the best yield. Now for this crop production management, it requires very skillful dealing with almost all the aspects of crop production. As it is a management process, therefore it requires skillful dealing with almost all aspects of crop production. This crop production management, it includes almost three topics. The management of three. Crop production management involves the management of three. One is nutrient, another one is irrigation, and the last is cropping patterns. So first one is nutrients, second one is irrigation, and the third one is cropping patterns. So crop production management involves the following three processes: nutrients, immigration, and cropping patterns. You can say it as nutrients or nutrients management also. Nutrients or simply nutrition. Nutrients or simply nutrients management. So we will discuss now these three steps one by one. So first one is nutrients management. Nutrients management. First one is nutrients management. Nutrients management. So like animals, like humans, plants also require nutrients for their growth and development. And what are the nutrients? They are the inorganic elements. What are nutrients? They are inorganic elements. They are inorganic elements which are supplied to plants by air, water, and soil. What are nutrients? Nutrients are inorganic elements which are supplied to plants by air, water, and soil. There are almost 16 essential nutrients for plants. Almost 16 essential nutrients available for plants. Clear? So make a heading: plants plant nutrients and their sources. What are the nutrients for plants and what are their sources? Plant nutrients and their sources. So nutrients for plants are supplied the nutrients for plants, they are supplied to plants by air, water and soil. So source there are three sources for nutrients. One is air, second one is water and the third one is soil. The nutrients are for plants from air. Nutrients available are carbon and oxygen. These two are the nutrients plants get from air. Second one is water. From water, plant gets hydrogen and oxygen, because water means H2O, that is hydrogen and oxygen. And from soil, it gets nutrients, that means almost 13 nutrients to plants. Soil supplies 13 nutrients to plants. So these are the nutrients supplied to plants from these sources, air, water and soil. Clear? Now they are called essential nutrients because these nutrients are very important for plants for their growth and development. So these are called essential plant nutrients. Now essential plant nutrients, they are categorized into two parts. These 16 essential nutrients or essential plant nutrients, they are categorized into two parts. So essential plant nutrients, they are categorized as two parts. One is macronutrients and the second one is micronutrients. One is macronutrients and the second one is micronutrients. Now the question is, what are macro and what are micro? Now macronutrients means these include 6 nutrients. All total there are 16 essential plant nutrients, and from 16 essential plant nutrients, 13 essential plant nutrients are supplied from soil. 13 essential plant nutrients are supplied from soil, and from 13 essential plant nutrients, they are categorized as macronutrients and micronutrients. Clear? So from 13 soil nutrients, there are 6 nutrients called as macronutrients. Therefore macronutrients are 6. From 13, macronutrients are 6. They are utilized by plants in large quantities. Hence they are known as macronutrients, because these are utilized by plant in large quantities. These are utilized by plants for large quantities. That's why they are termed as macronutrients. What are the example of macronutrients? Examples are nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, calcium, magnesium, sulfur. All of these are macronutrients. So examples are nitrogen, sulfur, magnesium, potassium, etc., etc. They are macronutrients. Clear? Nitrogen, sulfur, magnesium, potassium, they are macronutrients. They are all total, they are macronutrients. Clear? Now coming to micronutrients. Micronutrients, they are 7 in numbers, because from 13, out of 13, 6 are macronutrients. Therefore the remaining, that means 7, will be micronutrients. Clear? Now they are required by plant in smaller quantities. Micronutrients are the nutrients required by plant in smaller quantities. That's why they are micronutrients. So these nutrients required in smaller quantities. Smaller quantities. What are the example of micronutrients? Examples like boron, manganese, zinc, copper, all these are your micronutrients. So example are zinc, copper, boron, manganese. These are micronutrients. So essential Plant nutrients are categorized into two types, macro and micro. Clear? Now, these are nutrients. As these are nutrients are also termed as essential nutrients. So these are required by plants for their growth and development. Now, deficiency of any of these nutrients affects psychological process in plant. That means psychological process means plants require process like reproduction, growth. So all these process, they are affected if any of these nutrients are not available to plants. Clear? Because these nutrients helps plants for their growth, for their development, for the best yield of crops. So these nutrients are very important, and absence of any of these nutrients can cause a serious damage to plants. Clear? Next, after nutrients, next one is manure. Now, what are manure? Manure means fertilizer. Not only fertilizer, these are natural fertilizers. Manure means natural fertilizer. Fertilizers which are produced naturally. That is natural fertilizers. Now, what are fertilizers? These are the organic substances. Fertilizers are the organic substances formed by the decomposition of animals and plant waste. They are called fertilizers. Fertilizers are used for the proper development of plants. These manure or natural fertilizers are used for the proper development of plants. Clear? So these are the organic substances. These are the organic substances formed by the decomposition of animal and plant wastes. These are the organic substances formed by the decomposition of animal and plant wastes. Clear? These are the manure or natural fertilizers. It actually supplies in small quantities to the soil. It is applied, these manure or natural fertilizers are actually applied to soil in small quantities. Clear? Now, this manure or natural fertilizers, they can be classified into two types based on the type of biological material used in manure. Based on the type of biological material used in this manure can be classified also as two types. One is compost and vermicompost, and the second one is green manure. So this manure, based on the biological material used, they are classified into two types. One is compost and vermicompost, and one is green manure. Compost and vermicompost, and one is green manure. Now, compost and vermicompost, coming to compost and vermicompost, it is a process in which farm waste materials like livestock, cow dung, waste materials, vegetable waste, these are decomposed into pits. They are known as composting. This process is known as composting. So what is compost or composting? It is a process in which farm materials like livestock excreta, cow dung, vegetable waste, animal refuse, domestic waste, or sewage waste, these are decomposed into a pits. They are known as compost, and the process is known as composting. Clear? The process is known as composting, and this compost is very rich in organic matter and nutrients because these composts are formed from waste materials. That's why this compost is very rich in organic matter and nutrients. This compost is very rich in organic matter and nutrients. Clear? Now, after compost or composting, what is vermicompost or vermicomposting? The preparation of compost by using earthworm. To hasten the process of decomposition of plant and animal is called vermicomposting. That means vermicomposting is a process of preparation of compost by using earthworm, so that the process of decomposition of plant and animal may faster is called vermicomposting. Clear? So compost and vermicompost, it's done. Next, after compost and vermicomposting, there is a concept that is green manure. Green manure. Now what is green manure? Manure means natural fertilizer. Now what is green manure? Some plants like sun hemp or guar, they are some plants, they are grown by plowing into the soil before sowing of the crop seeds. Some plants like sun hemp or guar, they are grown by plowing into the soil before sowing the crop seeds. The green plants then turn into green manure, and it helps increasing the nitrogen and phosphorus content in the soil. This process is known as green manure, and the content is known as green manure. I am repeating again, listen carefully. Some plants there are like sun hemp or guar. Sun hemp and guar. They are the two plants. They are grown by plowing into the soil before sowing the crop inside or before sowing the crop seeds. The green plants then turn into green manure, and it helps increasing the nitrogen and phosphorus content in the soil. It helps increasing the nitrogen and phosphorus content in the soil. Clear? The process is known as green manure. This process is known as green manure. And what is the importance of this green manure? The importance of this green manure is it helps to improve the hydration. It helps to improve the hydration and crumb structure of the soil. This is the main importance of green manure. It helps to improve hydration and crumb structure of soil. This is the main importance of green manure. Clear? So vermicompost, compost and green manure, they are the two types of manure. Now what are the advantages of manure? What are the advantages of manure? Why we will use manure to soil? What are the advantages of manure? What are the advantages of manure? Now, first advantage is manure enriches soil with nutrients and organic matter. Manure enriches the soil with nutrients and organic matter because they are natural fertilizers and they are organic substances. Clear? So manure enriches soil with nutrients and organic substances or organic matter. This is the first advantage of manure. So first advantage is manure enriches the soil with nutrients and organic matter, and the nutrients and organic matter, these are known as humus. These nutrients and organic matter is known as humus. It is enriching manure. So it enriches the soil with nutrients and organic matter called as humus. This is the first advantage of manure. Second advantage of using manure is it increases the soil fertility. Manure increases the soil fertility and decreases the harmful effect of pesticides or insecticides in the soil. So this is the second advantage of manure. So it increases the soil fertility. It increases the soil fertility and decreases the harmful effects of pesticides and insecticides in the soil. Insecticides in the soil. This is the advantage of manure. Another advantage of manure is it helps the recycling of farm waste, because manure is formed from the decomposition of animal and plant waste. So applying manure to soil, it also helps in recycling of farm waste. So it also helps in recycling of farm waste. These are the advantages of manure. Clear? Now after manure, next one is fertilizers. Next one is fertilizers. Now manures are the natural fertilizers, and these fertilizers, they are the commercially produced plant nutrients. Fertilizers are commercially produced plant nutrients. Commercially produced plant nutrients. Commercially produced plant nutrients. They apply nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium in the soil. They apply nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium. These three elements. They apply nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium in the soil. These three elements. So they are also termed as NPK. NPK means nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium. Clear? Now what are the advantages? Advantages of using fertilizers in the soil. What are the advantages? Like manure, fertilizers also have advantages. So number one advantage is they are very easily available. They are very easily available, easy to use, and they are easy to store. So that is the first advantage. They are easy available. They are easily available, easy to store. That is the first advantage. Clear? Easy to store. You can write easy to use and store. Easy to use and store. That is the first advantage. Second advantage is they help in the higher yield of higher cost farming. They help in the higher yield of higher cost farming. That means you can have higher variety if you use fertilizers in the soil. So they help in the higher yields of high cost fund. Higher yields of high cost farming. These are the advantages of using fertilizers. So like advantages, fertilizers also have some disadvantages too. So like advantages, they also have disadvantages. So what are the disadvantages? What are the disadvantages? Number one disadvantages of using fertilizer is they need to be applied very carefully. They need to apply very carefully in terms of proper dose, proper timing, and also they have to look after pre and post application of precautions, because excessive use of fertilizer can cause water pollution. Therefore they need to apply very carefully, because they are applied actually in small quantity. But if you use excessive the fertilizers, then can cause water pollution, because they get washed away with water and are not fully absorbed by plant if you use excessively. Therefore they need to apply very carefully in terms of proper dose, proper time, and also look after pre and post application precautions. Clear? So number one disadvantage is they need to be applied carefully in terms of proper dose and proper time, because excessive use of these fertilizers can cause water pollution. Clear? That is the first disadvantage. Second disadvantage is continuous use of fertilizers. If you use fertilizers continuously in soil, so continuous use of these fertilizers can destroy soil fertility, because fertilizers are formed from organic matter. So if you use this fertilizer continuously, it can destroy the soil fertility and soil does not get replenished. Hence microorganisms can be harmed by the use of these fertilizers. That's why continuous use of fertilizer should not be done, because it destroys soil fertility. That is the second disadvantage. continuous use of fertilizers can destroy soil fertility. Continuous use of fertilizers can destroy soil fertility. That is the second disadvantage of using fertilizers. Clear? So nutrition management complete. The first step of crop production management, the three steps there are: crop production management, nutrition management, irrigation and cropping patterns. So nutrition management is complete, the first step. Second one is irrigation. After nutrition management, second one is irrigation. Second step is irrigation. Now what is irrigation? Irrigation is a process of supplying water to crop plants. Irrigation is nothing but it is a process of supplying water to crop plants by means of canals, wells, reservoir, tube oil, the various sources of water. They are called irrigation. Clear? So it is a process. It is a process of supplying water to plants by means of canals, wells, tube wells, reservoir, etc., etc. Clear? It is a process of supplying water to crop plants, by means of canals, wells, tube wells, reservoirs, etc. Clear? It is called irrigation. Clear? Now, some common used irrigation system, they depend on the type of water resource available for the agriculture purpose. Because irrigation, it is a process, it is used in agriculture purpose. Clear? So some common used irrigation system, they depend on the type of water resource available for the agricultural purpose. So type of water resource means water can be get from well, they can get from canal, and also some modern techniques these days they are used, but mainly water get from wells and canals. These are most two important sources of water for this irrigation process. So first common used irrigation system from where we can get water is well. It is a very common source of water. Now this well, they are constructed wherever groundwater is present. Wells are constructed whenever groundwater is present for irrigation. And this well is two type. One is tube well and one is dug well. One is dug wells and one is tube wells. These wells are constructed wherever groundwater is available for irrigation or groundwater is present for irrigation. This well is two types. One is dug well and one is tube wells. These dug wells, water is collected from water bearing strata. These dug wells, water is collected from water bearing strata. With the use of water bearing strata, water is collected from dug well. Coming to tube well, here water can be drawn from deeper strata using pump. In tube well, water can be collected or water can be drawn from deeper strata using pumps. So here water can be collected from deeper strata using pumps. Water can be collected or water can be drawn using deeper strata and using pumps. So this is all about well. Next one is canals. Now canals, they are an elaborate and extensive method of receiving water from reservoir like dam or rivers. These canals are the very elaborate and extensive used method of receiving water from reservoir. Reservoir means like dam or rivers. The main canal is further divided into other branches that we have to distribute to irrigate fields. Clear? So main in canal, it is used to get water from reservoirs like dam or rivers. Used to get water from dam or rivers, and then we use that water for our irrigation purpose. After canals, next sources are tanks. Next are tanks. Tanks means small storage reservoirs. These are used in small. They are the small storage reservoir. Water where is stored. Small storage reservoirs. Small storage reservoirs. Clear? They catch and store smaller water or smaller amount of water. So well, canals and tanks, they are the very convenient method or convenient system for use of water in irrigation purpose. Now there are some modern techniques nowadays, they are used for this purpose. So what are the modern techniques? These are the very convenient method or convenient techniques. Now what are the modern techniques? Modern techniques. What are the modern techniques? Number one, rainwater harvesting. Rainwater harvesting. That is the important technique. Or what is this process? Here in rainwater harvesting, rainwater is collected. Rainwater is collected into the ground by digging tunnels. Here in this process, rainwater harvesting, rainwater is collected into the ground by digging tunnels. Clear? Water here percolates into the soil and maintaining the water table. So mainly it is a process of collecting rainwater by digging the ground and tunnels. Next, after rainwater harvesting, second modern technique is watershed development. Watershed development. Watershed development. Now what is watershed development? In watershed development, small dams are built to increase the groundwater level. Here in watershed development, small check dams are built to increase the groundwater level. The purpose of these check dams is to stop the rainwater from flowing away and also to reduce the soil erosion. That is the watershed development. Clear? So these are the two modern techniques where water is used for this irrigation purpose. So second process, irrigation, is complete. So in crop production management, there are three steps: nutrition management, irrigation, and cropping patterns. So among these three, the first two complete. The last one, that is cropping patterns. Cropping patterns. Cropping patterns. Now cropping patterns, it involves raising of crops. It involves raising of crops so as to obtain maximum benefit from the same piece of land. Here, as the name suggests, that patterns. So here crop are arranged so as to obtain the maximum benefit from the same piece of land. That is the cropping patterns. Because it reduces the risk of crop failure, disease, and various other purposes, where maximum benefit can be obtained from the same piece of land. That is the cropping pattern. Clear? Next, it involves mainly crops are arranged so that maximum benefit can we have from the same piece of land. So it is a mainly two practices followed here. One is mixed cropping and one is intercropping. One is your mixed cropping. There is the process, first process, and the second one is intercropping. Second one is intercropping. Now what is mixed cropping? In this process or in this step, two or more crops are grown simultaneously on the same piece of land. Two or more crops are grown simultaneously on the same piece of land. Suppose you are growing wheat and gram. Suppose you are growing wheat and gram. So two crops, they are grown simultaneously. Or you can grow suppose wheat plus groundnut. That means two or more than two crop can be grown simultaneously on the same piece of land. This is known as mixed cropping. Now they have some advantages. Mixed cropping they have some advantages too. So what are the advantages of using this mixed cropping system? Number one is it improves soil fertility. It improves soil fertility. The second advantage is the total risk of crop failure is due to the uncertain monsoon is reduced. That means the risk of crop failure is reduced. The risk of crop failure due to the some uncertain monsoon condition is reduced. So second advantage is risk of crop failure is reduced. So this is the two advantages of using mixed cropping system. Next, after mixed cropping, second process is intercropping. So what is intercropping? In this, two or more crops are grown simultaneously on the same field in a definite pattern. Here the patterns are not definite. In mixed cropping the pattern is not definite, but in intercropping two or more crops they are grown simultaneously on the same field but in a definite pattern. Here a pattern is maintained, intercropping, but here in mixed cropping no pattern is maintained. Clear? Now in intercropping, suppose you are growing soybean and maize. Two or more crops can be grown simultaneously, but you have to maintain the required pattern or definite pattern. Suppose you are growing soybean and maize. So two crops, you can grow two crops simultaneously on the same field, but you have to maintain a definite pattern. Clear? Here the crops are selected on the basis of the nutrient requirements. Here the crops in intercropping, the two crops that are to be grown, they are selected on the basis of their nutrient requirements. The two crops must have different nutrient requirements from each other. The two crops here grown in intercropping system, they must have different nutrient requirements from each other. For example, you are growing soybean and maize because these have different nutrient requirements. Also, you can grow millet plus cowpea, millet. Also, you can grow millet plus cowpea simultaneously because these are the pairs, they require different requirements. Clear? Now this is called intercropping, where two or more crops are grown simultaneously on the same piece of land but in a definite pattern. Now like mixed cropping, intercropping also have some advantages. So what are the advantages of using intercropping system? Number one is it ensures maximum utilization of supplied nutrients. It ensures maximum utilization of supplied nutrients and better returns. That means maximum utilization of supplied nutrients and better returns. That is the first advantage of intercropping. Second advantage is both crops give better return. Both crops means the crop you are growing, both the crops gives you better returns. That is the second advantage. Both crops gives better returns. Clear? So this is the two advantage of intercropping system. Clear? So cropping patterns is complete, and with this the crop production management is complete. So two aspects, crop production management, and in the previous lecture crop variety improvement is complete, and the last method of activity, that is crop protection management, it is remaining, and we will discuss this process in the next lesson. Clear? So thank you. See you in the next session. Thank you.